for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, sir. At this time, let's go around the room to introduce ourselves, the PSTA board members who are with us this morning. And if we could, we'll just start at this end.
All right, thank you. Jamie Robinson, Commissioner, City of Largo.
Dave Albritton, Council Member, City of Clearwater.
Richard Bennett, Commissioner, North Reddington Beach.
Good morning, I'm Brad Miller. I'm the CEO of PSTA.
Gina Driscoll, St. Petersburg City Council.
Good morning, everyone. Dan Saraki, Mayor of the City of Oldsmar.
Vince Cox, Pinellas County.
Jeff Gow, CD Dunedin Commissioner.
Kathleen Peters, Pinellas County.
Jim Oliver, City of Seminole, City Council.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Next, we have our recognitions and presentations, and today we'll be recognizing outgoing board member, Commissioner Pat Gerard. First, we will recognize her with Brad saying a few words. Brad?
Good morning, everybody. Good morning.
So I think this is one of the only lifetime PSTA board member passes that might actually get used. I want to recognize our chair, Pat Gerard. If you want to come up here too, while I talk about you. As one of the only board members that is a regular rider of PSTA, I think that's really part of what has made her time on the PSTA board very special, is that from all of us, I think, know how much you recognize how important public transportation is to the customers that ride us, and have always taken that into, reflected that by leading the PSTA board. I also want to thank you for being open to whatever I threw your way, as whether it's going up to Tallahassee and hanging out with the Stanley Cup, or going to Washington, D.C. and taking a little video with Harry Glenn, or whatever it's been, or even trying new modes of transportation. I think you and I had our first experience riding a scooter at the same time in Indianapolis, and my scooter kept turning off, and you got on yours, and I remember seeing you kind of immediately go over into a truck. You were fine. You didn't fall down or anything, and I was like, oh my gosh, the chair of PSTA is going to try a scooter. But it just shows your openness to this, and I think it just shows your support and passion for PSTA and what we're trying to do. So thank you very much for your service. Here is your lifetime pass. I have talked to the staff about if you would prefer to get that converted into a lifetime pass on your Flamingo app. We're going to work on that. And for future board members, you might actually get a Flamingo, a pink gold or something. We have a lovely recognition of your time on PSTA. And there's more. And you receive a signature of the to recognize the grand opening of Sunrunner. So that is for you as well. So would you like to see? Yes, I would. Good.
Well, I just want to say thank you to my colleagues. I've been thinking about what a great board this is and how lucky we are to have Brad, to have you all, to have the staff. You know, when I look at the drama across the bay and the constant turmoil, we are blessed to have him here and to have this very talented staff. It's innovative. We stay within the budget. We don't hire people who have 2 jobs. We've actually had the same executive director for our CEO for, I don't know how many years now, but that's worth something, and it's worth working together for that. Public transportation is important, and I appreciate all the time I've spent here.
Sorry. I saw the thing, I was like, I'll get the hang of it. All right. Thank you so much, and thank you, Commissioner Gerard, for your years of service. Next, we will have a presentation on our PSTA's 600-plus employees who are now even more engaged in what the agency is doing. And Ms. Tamika White, PSTA's Senior Organizational Development Manager, will take us through this item regarding improved employee engagement. Tamika,
Hi.
good morning.
Good morning, Chair, board members, Mr. Miller. My name is Tamika White. I'm the Senior Organizational Development Manager here in the HR department at PSTA. Thank you for the opportunity to be before you today to share the results from our most recent employee engagement survey. We conduct surveys to measure our performance with 3 key stakeholders: our customers, our community, and our employees. We survey each of these groups once every 3 years to gauge the impact of our efforts in areas that are important to them. So why does engagement matter? Decades of research shows that when companies demonstrate that we listen to and deliver on what employees tell us, we make strategic progress towards improving retention, attendance, safety outcomes, strengthening teamwork, mentoring and employee development, and decreasing discipline as well as interpersonal and performance issues. So this year, we had more than half of our employees respond to the survey, with even distribution from our union member population and our administrative employees. The employee participation rate alone tells us something about our engagement levels. If an employee believes their opinion matters to agency management, they're more likely to spend time taking the survey. According to Forbes magazine, the average employee survey response rate is 30 to 40%. So we're very pleased to have over 50% for the second time in a row. Based on years of experience, our survey vendor uses these 6 questions within the survey to hone in on engagement levels. These questions all focus on how employees feel about PSTA and their work here. Our results in 2022 were very positive. What's exciting about PSTA engagement trends is that we continue to make incremental progress year over year. As you can see from this graphic here, in green, the percentage of fully engaged employees grew, and in red, the percentage of not engaged employees decreased. So we're seeing improvement where we want it while reducing the number of employees who report feeling not engaged. So just a quick high-level overview of the main trends from this year's survey. Our 3 highest scoring questions were, I like my work, I know how my work supports PSTA's mission, and I understand the expectations that management has of me. Our largest increases since the last survey in 2019 were in two areas: PSTA respects diversity and our satisfaction with pay and benefits. The positive gap analysis measures two aspects: how important the topic is to employees and how satisfied they are in those areas. So our three largest positive gaps were training and development, recommending PSTA as a good place to work, and feeling really proud to be part of the organization. Some of our successful organizational initiatives that have contributed to these positive results include our work in the diversity, equity, and inclusion space. So for DEI, we have offered organization-wide DEI training. We've created a DEI mission statement and guiding principles to be clear and transparent that these are important PSTA values. We've also established a DEI Leadership Council for sustained executive-level focus into incorporating diversity, equity, and inclusion into all areas of the organization. And we've introduced employee resource groups to nurture employee-led connections and amplify diverse voices. A recent compensation study demonstrated PSTA's commitment to investing in competitive pay for all employees and a commitment to staying abreast of the changing market. In the area of employee development, we have our Driving to Success tuition assistance program. We offer internal internships to expand employees' on-the-job skills and exposure to different departments that they might be interested in. Our LinkedIn Learning training platform empowers employees to access on-demand training in a myriad of business topics. We have supervisor leadership development training, our Awesome Boss Boot Camp for new manager preparedness, and our premier in-house development program, Leadership PSTA. We have also improved in the area of innovative projects and interdepartmental collaboration, as seen with our recent successful launch of the Sunrunner Bus Rapid Transit project. Of course, there are always things that we have to work on. So some of the improvement areas that the survey showed that we should continue to focus on include continuing to offer training and leadership development at all levels, increasing our employee appreciation and recognition efforts so that our employees feel valued for the work that they do, maintaining the agency's commitment to be a fair and equitable workplace, and helping our employees manage change. So our next steps are hosting action planning workshops with our department heads, implementation of the solutions that we come up with, and communicating to our employees that we are taking action. Then continuous monitoring of our progress through pulse surveys. That will conclude my presentation. I'm happy to take any questions that you might have at this time.
Thank you. Questions from commissioners?
Thank you.
All right. Brad, did you have any remarks on this item?
When Tamika showed me the presentation, I thought she should end with a question to the PSTA board and say, do you all feel engaged? We do. We do at PSTA. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have public comment for consent agenda items, excuse me, or items not on the agenda. Did we have any requests from the public?
I haven't received any cards.
All right, thank you. We'll close public comment and go to the consent agenda. Are there any items on the consent agenda that any board member wishes to pull?
Second.
All right, thank you. We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. If we could please open the voting system. Board members, please enter your votes. And how many do we have today? 3, 6, 9, 11.
Vince didn't pop up.
I mean, yes.
All right, so Commissioner Cox has a yes vote. Commissioner Peters? Yes. Commissioner Peters votes yes. Oh, there we go. No, I've got them all. All right, the motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Next, we have our committee updates, and first up is the track update with Mark O'Hara.
Hello, board members. I want to give my personal congratulations to outgoing Chair Gerard. All right, good morning, Chair Driscoll, Mr. Miller, and esteemed board members. The track met virtually on November 16th, 2022. It was exciting to see the enthusiasm and praise of all members for the new Sunrunner. Members were eager to share their stories of their success and observations about opening weekend and riding the Sunrunner. We already have one track member who is commuting daily on the Sunrunner, and I've noticed on my rides that there are a lot of new first-time riders. It's been a very long time since we've had a chance to bask in launch of a major new service, and the buzz has been really enjoyable. Newly promoted planning manager, Jacob Labutka, spoke to us about a new pilot program that he is testing with PSTA, Direct Connect, and the Transit app. He asked for several volunteers to be beta testers for the program next month, and I'm pleased to report that many track members were able to reach out and assist. Director of Marketing Communications, Whitney Fox, gave us an overview of the immensely successful Sunrunner launch, including a wrap-up of media coverage and buzz that was created about the event and the Sunrunner. She also gave a recap of the jam-packed Halloween on Central event sponsored by PSTA. It was apparently so busy that the agency had to pull an extra bus in for Sunrunner service. Lastly, Theo Bacamalis, Superintendent of Safety, Security, and Training, and Al Burns, our highly motivated procurement director, updated us on the new security guard contract for PSTA terminals. They also described how the agency will be upgrading the experience level and expertise of security station staff. Our next meeting will be via Zoom on January 17th, 2023 at 4 p.m. and you're all welcome to join us. In the meantime, the track and I wish you all a safe, happy, and prosperous holiday season. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next is our local coordinating board update, and for that, I will turn things over to Brad Miller.
Yes. There. Good morning. Commissioner Patty Reed is our representative on the local coordinating board, but she's not here today, so I'll read the summary of the local coordinating board of Pinellas County met on September 20th. Robert Feigl with Forward Pinellas reviewed the changes made to the Transportation Disadvantaged Service Plan as part of its 5-year major update. He reviewed the annual operating report and annual expenditures report with the LCB. The Disabilities Achievement Center also gave a presentation to the local coordinating board, and PSTA also did about our new Sunrunner service and how it is fully accessible. The local coordinating board appointed 3 members to serve on the Community Transportation Coordinator Annual Evaluation Subcommittee, which will meet in, which I guess has already actually even met recently. The next local coordinating board meeting will take, I guess took place on November 15th. I don't know when then. I think they meet every other month, so it'll be in January. That concludes my summary report.
All right, thank you. Next is the Ford Pinellas update. That one is mine. The Ford Pinellas board met in person on November 9th, 2022. The highlights include an update on the target employment and industrial land study. The final report will be presented at the January 2023 meeting for acceptance and endorsement recommendation that would then be incorporated in the spring. We had a presentation and unanimous approval of the countywide trends and conditions report, which provides a high-level annual snapshot of the county's transportation system with a focus on safety metrics. There was unanimous approval of the 2023 Executive Committee membership, which will include Commissioner Janet Long as chair, Vice Mayor Michael Smith of the City of Largo as vice chair, Mayor Bujalski from the City of Dunedin as secretary, and Councilmember David Albritton from the City of Clearwater as treasurer. There was also unanimous approval of the legislative priorities for the coming year, including support for the rights of communities to govern themselves according to the wishes of their residents, support for flexible, sustained transportation funding that meets the needs of all users based on community context and ensures that our streets are safe, and support for increased citizen involvement in local government planning. The possible formation of a regional MPO was not included at this time, but it's going to continue to be discussed among regional partners. I actually have a meeting on that topic this Friday as a committee member with the Forward Pinellas Board. There was unanimous approval of the FY 22-23 to FY 26-27 Transportation Improvement Program, which among other local government work programs includes PSTA's work program and the FTA's 5310 program allocations. The next Forward Pinellas Board meeting will be held on December 14th, 2022. And that is my report for Forward Pinellas. Next, we have our action items. We have one action item for today, item 6A, the approval of the 2023 board officers. Brad?
Thank you. Can you advance the slide? So the PSTA board has a nominating committee, and thanks to those who serve on that, who met on November 2nd and recommended the following, and unanimously put the following slate of board officers for 2023 for PSTA. That would be our current vice chair, Gina Driscoll, would be the chair of PSTA. The current secretary-treasurer, Dan Saraki, would move to be the vice chair of PSTA, and then executive committee member Renee Flowers would be the secretary-treasurer for PSTA in 2023. The committee met, reviewed the letters of interest that you all sent in for these positions and made these recommendations. They also made not too many, but a few recommendations on committee members that you approved as part of your consent agenda. There is a full list in your packet of all of the committee assignments for each board member for 2023, and then also there's another form in there that lists the terms of all the board members in there. So with that, I don't know. I think Secretary Treasurer Saraki, you were there for the nominating committee. I think you were there for the nominating committee. Oh, you were not there.
I'm not on the nominating committee.
Oh, okay. You're not?
Nope.
There's a mystery committee out there.
Let me look at my committee sheet to see who's on the committee.
Well, if anyone could raise your hand if you're on the nominating.
I mean, I was just
So
wondering if
Commissioner
anyone
Fig
might.
Sanders is on the nominating committee?
I'm on the nominating committee. but
And
I
Commissioner
did not attend that meeting.
Okay.
I was, Josh Joman was also there.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think who else was there. Was it Commissioner Gerard?
Josh,
Yes.
Mr. Bennett, you were there?
No, he wasn't there that day.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the members of the nominating committee are Josh Schulman, Richard Bennett, Jeff Gow, Renee Flowers, and Deborah Fig Sanders.
Well, thank you for your vote.
All right, thank you. So I'll entertain a motion to approve the board officers.
The board members.
All right, so we have a motion and a second to approve the board officers for 2023. If we could please open the voting system. Commissioners, please enter your votes. And we have.
I can take your vote manually.
All right, the motion passes unanimously. Thank you, everyone.
Yes, thank you.
And
Excited.
congratulations to my fellow board officers for 2023. Next, we have a couple of information items today. We'll start with item 7A, which is the PSTA mobility software dispute. Brad and PSTA's CFO, Debbie Leos, will update the board on where we stand with this issue with our software vendor. Good morning.
Morning.
So I'll go ahead and introduce this item. You all got an email from me earlier, about a month ago, about this issue that we're dealing with, where we need to get the passenger fares returned to us from this legacy software system that we use called Goin'. This is a older software program that we use, not the one that we've had a lot of discussions about with Commissioner Cox over the last several months that we're moving toward. This is the one we were using prior to that. And I think most of you might have seen the article that was in the paper today about this issue. And Debbie's going to walk through a similar presentation to the one we gave to the Finance Committee before Thanksgiving. And then we'll talk about maybe some actions that have happened since then.
Thank you, Brad. And so 2 weeks ago at the Finance Committee, Brad and I notified the committee of this dispute that we were having with the vendor. And it looks like we do have counsel involved now. And Nikki, are you on Zoom, just to keep me on track?
I am.
Okay, thank you. But today I'm just
Hello.
going to give you a brief update on where we're at with this. So as Brad mentioned, PSTA is currently using this software called Goin'. And we've been using it for about the past 5 years, and it's used to deploy on-demand trips for our paratransit riders. And as we mentioned, this is not the software company you hear Commissioner Cox keep us on track with called Spare. That's our new software. And with this software, the rider when the rider goes to pay, it goes into what they call the Goin' Rider Wallet. And right now, the Goin' software owes us, as of the end of August, about $500,000, and it, of course, is growing. The program for Mobility on Demand has been extremely successful. And as a result, we've been using a lot more licenses than what was originally agreed upon in the contract. So what we did is we put forth an offer letter to them in October, and it was to settle for a settlement payment of Goin' owing us $280,000. Unfortunately, we have never heard back on this at all. So at that point, we requested our general counsel to send a demand letter out for the fares that Goin' has been holding. Now, the good news is Goin' agrees they owe us the fares. We agree it would be fair to pay for additional licenses because the program has been successful. What we don't agree on is I don't feel a sense of urgency related to this on the part of Goin', which is why when we put the demand letter out, I think we're going to get a better result. One thing that has happened so the good news is we agree that the money's owed to us, both parties. Where we have a disagreement is that Goin' did allegedly send a payment to us of $106,000. We did not receive that payment. So what we're doing on this, and I'll talk a little bit about this, is that we're doing everything we possibly can, and that's why I'm bringing the information item forward to you. There's different aspects to this whole thing. First, we're sending a demand letter. That's been done. Second, we're working to make sure that future payments do not go into the Goin' wallets. It's going to be going into our accounts, our wallets. And because we've never received this payment that Goin' allegedly sent, I have reached out to the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office and established a case. We've reached out and established a case with the FBI. We have engaged our insurance company to also assist from a technology standpoint, to go ahead and do a forensic investigation. But I think what's important as we look forward on this is that we are making sure that we're setting up a separate virtual wallet system for PSTA so that all the co-pays go directly into our account. We are also working with Spare to implement this program through our software that we currently have. And lastly, it allowed us to really revisit our policies, procedures as it relates to receiving payments from vendors. I love old-fashioned checks. I'm old, I love old-fashioned checks. So this is the first time we've ever had an issue, and I can guarantee you I'm going to make sure it's the last. So I want to make sure we get our payments timely. So with that, Brad, is there anything else that I've missed that I should be adding?
No, like Debbie said, since the Finance Committee, we've sent a letter. Our attorneys have had communication with the attorneys for the software company. So there has been dialogue. I think there's even a scheduled meeting today, and so I'm hopeful. I don't know if that will require us to actually file a legal claim. It might, and so we're ready to do that. But we'll see. I do feel pretty confident that I feel very confident that we will ultimately get the outstanding fares returned to us, one way or another. And then I think we are, as Debbie said, taking the right steps to change this moving forward so that we're not continually having the customer's money at risk with the software company and creating a whole separate system for that. And that's taking some effort, and I'm thankful for the staff to work on that. And then ultimately, I think we'll be in a good space this coming spring once we completely transition to the new software.
All right, questions? Oh, Commissioner Flowers.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you very much for the diligence that you've had, surrounding this, and it is most unfortunate. And when you're dealing with technology and transactions through technology, things happen. So thank you for what you're doing. My question is, even moving over to Spare, which I fully support because I think we should have one vendor that we're operating with, and I know this was probably the transition moving over. Yeah. I just want to make sure that we are discussing the number of licenses for our permitted users. If we have to purchase additional licenses because the program of the service is so wonderful, that there's like a trigger mechanism so that Spare will notify us, or, if we're not tracking it appropriately, that we're coming to X number of users, there's an additional fee of such and such, and we can negotiate that prior to a company at the end saying you used more licenses or there were many more users than before. I know, with even our normal Microsoft Word or whatever we're using within organizations, we purchase X number of licenses for the staff that we have, and then when we get more, we have to purchase more. And sometimes it costs much more because now you're not purchasing a larger quantity just, to the next level that you need. So maybe we can make sure that Spare figures all of that into any future negotiations. Because I see our services just growing in a positive way. I mean, when you just look at Sunrunner and others, it's just growing in a positive way. And so Uber, Lyft, and any others that's our on-demand services, I think will increase as well with the number of people that are moving into our county.
Well, I couldn't agree more. So thank you.
But great job. Thank you so much for all you're doing. Appreciate you.
Thank you. Any others? Commissioner Cox.
Thank you, Madam Chair. PSTA has agreed to go forward with Spare to take over this duty. And as we all know, when there's been concerns from Commissioner or from our CEO that the rollout of Spare has not been smooth. It's not been smooth in our paratransit. dispatch and getting timely rides to people, and there's been issues with that. And I wish you could correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Miller, but when we, as a board, were told what Spare Labs was going to perform for PSTA, was not it also an integration of the MOD program, that they would be essentially doing what Goen has been performing? Am I not correct on that?
You are correct.
Okay. So, again, we experienced a delay, a 1-year delay, actually, of a proper dispatch system for First Transit. And was not that part of our contract with Spare Labs to be ready and available in December of last year to perform this service that Goen has been doing?
That's a great question, and one that we contemplated, especially when the situation came up with Goen, was whether or not we should go ahead and implement that feature of the new Spare software that you're describing.
Right.
Where they would take this over.
Right.
And it was a strategy decision that I made at PSTA, not to implement the new system because of the challenges that you and I both know, that you've been talking about, the challenges that we've had with the base Spare software.
Right.
I was very worried that they would take their eye off the ball if we focused them on this effort until they got the base paratransit software scheduling system working correctly. And I am happy to report, there's a report in everybody's packet of the latest on that software.
Right.
We have made some pretty substantial progress things are improving because of much of the things that you've been talking about, Commissioner Cox, over the last several months, about giving the dispatchers more control and giving scheduling in the driver breaks and things like that. That is improving that, but it was our decision. It wasn't Spare was ready to go, but with this mobility on demand piece, but it was our decision to have them focus on those other items first. I am confident that Spare is now on track to have the system in place so that then this spring we will be able to completely transition off of Goen, and Goen will be gone, and then we'll be on to Spare in the next couple of months.
Okay, because we had a conversation on, our planning committee in March of this year, March 23rd to be exact, who Commissioner Sanders, Commissioner Flowers, and Commissioner Albritton and myself shared the concerns of the delay of a contract that we have with Spare Labs that PSTA has paid for this year. And
we have not paid for this year. We have not paid them any money this year.
we did pay, not correct, $177,000 plus $20,000 startup to perform these services, and which should, according to a contract, have been ground ready in December of 2021 to perform these and perform them adequately. Also, I'm trying to, hearken back here and think that another feature that Spare was offering that attracted PSTA was to take over and manage the paratransit database, meaning updates on that, monitoring renewal of that. And has that occurred yet also?
That has occurred.
Okay, they now
Yeah.
monitor the
Eligibility piece?
Yeah, eligibility.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm at great odds with this because of, and I know we really have no options right now. I mean, we're simply out of options. And I truly want this to work. I mean, with all my heart, I want it to work. But I have concerns of how Spare Labs has performed and how they will perform going forward. And that's all I have to say on this subject. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Cox. Brad, any other comments on this item? Debbie, any other comments on this item?
No.
I've got a question, please.
Okay. Commissioner, sorry, Robinson. I'm sorry.
It doesn't matter, just don't call me late for supper. So I had a conversation with Brad before the meeting regarding this issue because I had a lot of concerns about, obviously, Goin is the bad actor in this, but I believe that PSTA we weren't where we needed to be able to catch this prior to, a couple months ago when we figured this out. So, but I had a long conversation, not a long conversation, but a good conversation with Brad prior to the meeting. He assured me that we're in a good place. We're going to, moving forward. So I'm confident that we will be. I guess my only question really for this is when did we find out that we were starting to, or we were not receiving payments? How long ago was that?
I want to say that was probably early summer, and staff started working with Goin on that at that point in time.
Did this come up in our audit?
No.
How?
This did not come up in the audit because we had not received any information to be able to invoice off of, and quite honestly, it was I will say, a mistake on our part, no doubt.
Okay.
It just was difficult because the vendor was not communicating.
Yeah.
They were not sending invoices or.
Well, yeah, they were not sending us invoices. We were not receiving the reports to create invoices off of from the vendor. And, I take full responsibility that we were unaware of it, at least at my level, so.
This is the question I asked Brad, and again, he assured me that we are, but I would like to hear it from you, I guess, as well. So all of the issues that we found here at PSTA that from this, we have figured out what they are.
Yes.
What the resolution is going to be and the correct way to move forward.
Yes, I'm very much a root cause type person. And I also want to be able to sleep at night knowing there's nothing else similar out there.
Right, okay.
Yeah, and perhaps what we can do to an upcoming finance committee meeting or, is kind of lay out all the different things we've done internally, in response to this, of new procedures we put into place, either about the way in which we receive payments, from folks, that we've taken kind of a full review, and to the audit, whatever comes out of the computer, the IT audit that our insurance company is going to do of us. Maybe present all the changes we make internally to make our system even more secure, so this doesn't happen again.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Fix-Sanders.
Thank you, and good morning, everyone that I haven't had the opportunity to speak to. So I have a question and a request. I agree that I think we should have been tighter on our billing in regards to this. We've already come to that conclusion, and I appreciate your full disclosure and accountability for that. So my question is, will we get the exact dollar amount? Because as I hear a financial forensic audit, and I'm hearing that this isn't going to take place until spring, and the original was $500,000, which is probably $600,000 by now. Those are a whole lot of vague figures. And I don't want us to, again, be not surprised per se, but to get financials 3 months from now, and it is a dollar amount that we did not budget via PSTA's budgeting process to say, well, where's this money coming from? Because if we have money for displaced accounting, we have money for additional programming and services we can be offering our riders. So my request is going to be, I'm not on the finance committee, but I would love to know what the accurate cost of this whole issue really is, from the new software we may have to purchase to ensure that this never happens again, if that's one of the resolutions, what the audit is going to cost PSTA, what the additional projected expenses to fix this issue is going to cost us. And again, I'm not on the finance committee, so I don't know if the request will be to present it at a finance committee meeting that I will be glad to attend. And of course, you know, I'm going to hopefully expect that it's going to come to full board. But that's just my request, is being able to know exactly how much is this really costing us.
I don't anticipate, in all honesty, and I think that's a great suggestion, Commissioner, Fix-Sanders, that we can do that. We are going to be paying a small amount for the forensic investigation through the insurance company as part of our deductible. But beyond that, we already have the spare software in place moving forward. We've looked at alternatives. As Brad said, we have been very busy on this to find ways of making sure we can maybe get the money into our accounts sooner than even having it moved over to spare.
Okay, so is that going to be a presentation to the finance committee shortly?
But Commissioner Fix-Sanders, I don't know this is going to happen, but I would imagine the resolution to this issue is going to be either some kind of settlement, a negotiated settlement, or a finding, where it'll come back to the full PSTA board for approval. So as part of that, we will certainly be outlining how we got to whatever number we ultimately get to. And also showing the expenses of whatever legal expenses or other kinds of expenses we might have had incurred to, as you say, fix this. So yeah, the full board will be seeing this again. I'm hopeful quickly, and then the finance committee will review it before that as well. But yeah.
Okay, thank you so much for that.
Great suggestions, thank you.
All right. Commissioner Oliver.
Yeah, follow-up question. Which came first, the chicken or the egg? Did the failure to pay by Goen precede their request for additional money for licenses, or did they ask for the license addition first? And your request or your suggestion that we lower that number from 500,000 to 380, was that based on some license trigger numbers that we can prove the $120,000 is exactly what we owed in the additional license? So really two questions. One, which came first, the chicken or the egg? And then, because if they ask for new license money before they failed to pay us, that's one thing. If they failed to pay us and then they said, oh, and by the way, you owe us more money for licenses, and then is there a specific trigger?
I would say it was the latter of what you just described, where they owed us, they started not reimbursing the passenger fares to us first.
Okay.
And then they kind of came back and said, oh, you owe us for all these licenses. That the calculation that we offered to them on October 31st of the 280 was based on our calculation of the actual number of licenses, even though they never actually billed us, sent us a bill for those licenses.
Okay.
But because of the growth of the program, the actual number of licenses we used, paying for the price per license that had already been in place, deducted from the estimate of passenger fares, got to the 280 number. That's how that was reached.
And they never came back with a counter offer? They
No.
just rejected our offer? Okay.
No,
They didn't respond at all.
Didn't respond at all, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, Commissioner Cox.
Thank you, Madam Chair. One more quick question. This would go to Mr. Miller. That if and when Spare Lab takes over this endeavor that Goen was doing, is their price included in the contract that we approved for Spare Labs back last year? Meaning, is it inclusive, or are there going to be extra fees that we will be paying to Spare Labs to perform this endeavor as well, which Goen was doing?
Well, right now we have a 10-year agreement with Spare.
Right.
And so it will be a similar sort of arrangement with licenses.
Right.
But it's all laid out. The good thing, which I'm very happy about, is that Spare will not have the passenger fares. The passenger fares will go directly to PSTA, and not pass through. It'll be managed by the software, but it's not like this where it goes to their account. It goes right to our account.
Right.
So that'll be much safer.
It's just simply, my concern is going to be on the hook for more money to Spare Labs to perform this when,
Not more than what we've already agreed
okay,
to.
that's all.
At
That's
least for
all.
the next 10 years.
That's all I want to know. And
Yeah.
then, but there would be additional licensing fees, which, based on volume, essentially, and
Yeah.
and where we are, we've agreed, PSTA has agreed to Goen that they are owed 220 to 240,000 based on the volume that was performed during this time, the super uptick on mobility, MOD, pardon me. I'm having a difficult time speaking today, but that answers my question, though. Thank you, Mr. Miller.
And just for the record, as the letter from our attorney to the software company said, once the lawyer sent the letter, the October 31st proposal for that we would pay the licenses is null and void. So that's off the table as of today. I do think it's fair for us to pay for the licenses we use, but just that original calculation that we did back on October 31st is off the table. Yeah. We'll see.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Flowers.
Just sharing. Most entities, when they have a contract for service, they put a provision in that says that invoices are due by the 5th, no later than the 5th of the month, payment, no later than the 15th or what have you. And I know with the Department of Children and Families, if you don't send them those invoices every 30 days, there's a clause in there that says if we don't get the invoice timely, we don't pay you. And I worked for over 25 years in a social service program, over 26 years with Gulf Coast. And I can tell you the number one priority was to get that invoice in. Even if you had a few bills or invoices that had not yet come in from other providers you subcontracted to, you got that invoice in 30 days because they could deny payment because of untimely submittal. So I don't know if the contract with Goen has anything in that, but if they never submitted invoices, I'm not an attorney, but you may want to look into that.
Yeah.
I just believe in getting your money.
Me too, yeah.
All right. Thank you. And,
thank you.
It is concerning that this happened and that it wasn't caught earlier, but I'm very glad that you are working to put better processes in place. I know that with, when you get into, newer technology, it is so helpful, but it can also be extremely complicated. And I'm glad that we're doing what we need to do to keep up with that and to make sure that all of our agreements and methods of payment and partnerships that we have are always prioritizing accuracy And I always have faith in you. You always do a fantastic job. I'm glad that this is something that we're learning from. And it looks like we've got some good steps in place to try to settle this. So I look forward to hearing more. Do you anticipate that there could be, would it make sense for us to add this as an agenda item for the January meeting so that we can get an update?
yeah.
Because I'd like to have regular updates until this is completely resolved.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. Thank you, Debbie.
Thank you.
Next, item 7B, our Sunrunner one-month update from Heather Sobush, our Chief Planning and Sustainability Officer, and Whitney Fox, Director of Marketing and Communications. They'll give us an update now that we are into the second month of operation for Sunrunner. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Chair Driscoll and the rest of the board. Congratulations to all of our new officers. I'm Whitney Fox, the Director of Communications and Marketing, here, of course, with Heather Sobush, and we're just here to tell you about all the exciting updates about Sunrunner and how it's going. So I will go ahead and start with our one-month update. We wanted to just give you an update. The last time we spoke about the Sunrunner progress, we were telling you about please come and attend Halloween on Central event. And we just want to let you know that it was a huge success for us and for the Sunrunner. Like our chair of our track committee said, we had to even include a plug bus because the buses were standing room only, packed. Many people had to wait for the next vehicle because of how busy it was. So we had over 4,500 riders for the Sunday, October 30th, Halloween on Central event. So many people who got to try the Sunrunner who maybe hadn't tried it before. It was very helpful for the event itself. And we noticed, Heather has pointed out from her data and ridership numbers, that a lot of the events that are happening in downtown St. Pete, we're seeing very high ridership on the Sunrunner when those events are happening. So we're really excited to see that people are utilizing it to get to those events. And we're really excited. We've compiled a long list of events that happen annually in downtown St. Petersburg and throughout the corridor, and as well as St. Pete Beach, to maybe put a strategy together for the upcoming year of how do we plan to partner with these events to utilize our service, make sure that those events know about it, that they're communicating it to their attendees, that they're aware of it as a service, or maybe they want to partner with us for future events as the transportation provider. So we're really excited to continue to give you updates on how that is going for Sunrunner. We also did a ride-along with St. Pete's Mayor Ken Welsh, which was very exciting, where many different stakeholders in the community came out to ride the Sunrunner. We went and visited different local businesses. This was all before Small Business Saturday to really showcase the different businesses that you can get to along the Sunrunner corridor. And many of the business owners, it was so lovely to hear them talk positively to the mayor about the Sunrunner Gold Card program, how many people have been using it, as well as just the foot traffic that they've seen from the Sunrunner itself. So it's been very exciting to hear nothing but positive sentiment from the business owners because of the Sunrunner traffic that they're getting. We also did a very small Sunrunner rider survey for the first few weeks of launch, and I wanted to share some of that data with you. One of the questions that we found interesting was we asked, if you hadn't taken the Sunrunner, how would you have made your trip? And the options to choose from were personal vehicle, ride share such as Uber or Lyft, rides from a friend, bike or walk, other transit service options, paratransit, or I would not have taken the trip. And more than half of the respondents actually said that they would have taken their personal vehicle. So we thought that was really exciting to see that we are getting people out of their cars, getting vehicles off the roads, and getting them onto the Sunrunner service. And about 15% said that they wouldn't have taken the trip at all. So there's more foot traffic that maybe would have gone to local businesses that maybe they wouldn't have taken that trip or gone on that ride on the Sunrunner. So we are continuing to survey our riders to see who they are, why they're riding, and get more data and information that we can hopefully report back to you. One other question that we asked was, what age group are you in? And we were very excited to see that throughout all of the different age groups that we listed, that it's a pretty even split. There doesn't seem to be one demographic that is outperforming any other. So we're really excited to see that hopefully we are attracting different age groups, different demographics to ride the Sunrunner. I'm going to hand it over to Heather to give you even more information.
Thank you, Whitney. In addition to the interesting information Whitney just shared, data has started rolling in from our automated passenger counter system. And so we wanted to share with you a little bit of that information. What you see here, I know it's kind of small, so I'll walk through it, is ridership by station for the month of November. And you will see that First Avenue North and Fifth Street North is the highest ridership location, followed by the Beach Access Park, and then Grand Central. And then some other interesting information that we found looking through the data is that the Sunrunner is now our #1 ridership route on weekdays and Saturdays. And then also that overall corridor ridership has grown, which is an indicator we're not only getting riders that rode some of the other services in the corridor before, but also new riders. So we looked at total corridor ridership with our routes that already ran in the corridor, and then compared it to post-launch with all the routes combined. And we had 25% more riders on weekdays and more than 45% on weekends. So we're just really happy, like Whitney said, that people are riding and that we're attracting new customers. And with that, I will hand it back to Whitney for some other news.
Just to conclude our exciting presentation and update about how the Sunrunner is doing, we wanted to let you know that we do have a little gift for you along behind your seats, and these are very limited edition Sunrunner posters that we wanted to give to all of our board members to thank you for all of your hard work and support in order to make the Sunrunner launch successful. And I do have a card with more information about them, but just wanted to let you know that they are screen printed by hand by a local printing artist studio here in St. Petersburg. And of course, the artwork is by the local artist Chad Mize, and they are limited edition. Only 200 of them were hand printed. So they are signed by the artist and numbered. So those are framed for you to take home to really celebrate being part of the project.
Thank you.
You're welcome. We're happy to take any questions.
Question.
It might eventually be, you never know. Any questions?
Any other questions? All right.
Quick, may I?
Yes.
And thank you for all the data. I'm a data guy, but I will say anecdotally, I was down at Shopapalooza a 2 weekends ago, and every stop for the Sunrunner there was like 10 people at least.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it was a great event all around, but the amount of people who were using transit downtown St. Pete was phenomenal. So
that's great.
it was good. It was really good to see, and I really enjoyed all that. So great job. Continue.
Thank you. We love the anecdotes. Please continue to tell us. Yes.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. I'm absolutely thrilled about this. It's so wonderful to see people really gravitating toward this as a real option for mobility around our area, between St. Pete and the beaches. And, it's not just for events. Yesterday, on my way to City Hall, I noticed it was like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. There were 5 people waiting at the Fifth Street stop. And, that's every single day. I mean, I'm downtown all the time. I live downtown. So I see that there are people at the stops and that this is being used. I wanted to ask about, one thing I love is seeing that on the data, some of the higher numbers are around the USF St. Petersburg campus. Yeah. And so that is like the next generation of transit for us. And so that is really encouraging. Do you have any numbers on eastbound versus westbound? Are we seeing more people going one way or the other, or is it mostly round trips, so it's pretty even?
I think it's pretty similar both directions, because we have our people going out to the beach where there's limited parking and expensive parking, and then obviously people loving to go to downtown for all the activities, events, restaurants, et cetera. So when I look at the data, it looks pretty similar both directions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, and then are you seeing any need to start it earlier or end it later? I mean, is the demand, are we looking at demand like late into the evening? And is that high enough where we're going to have to look at increasing that?
Right, so we did just get all of November's data pulled from our reporting system. So we haven't dug at the trip level, but we are planning to do that and to look at how many people are riding on each trip. And then also for New Year's Eve, we're doing a promotion where we're having 15-minute service till after midnight. So that will also give us some idea of who's going to be riding later at night, even though I know that's a big special event night, but it still could give us some information.
Okay, great. I'm sure I'm not the only one who would love to see that additional information once you've had an opportunity to go through it all and prepare it for us. So, once again, is this something that we can see again next month and get some more info? Or at least send us info in the meantime when you have a report?
Yep. By the time the committees and board are next month, we should have November, all the way through December.
Okay, great. Brad?
Commissioner Schulman, as we all know, likes to ask questions, and within 5 minutes of sending out the packet, he had a lot of questions already that I forwarded right to Heather. Yeah, I'm sure we'll be getting more into the data.
Okay,
We're
great.
just starting.
Great, this is exciting, thank you.
Yeah, I love your idea of this update, it's the data insights. This is wonderful. If we could do that like December, January, bring it back to our meeting, that would be fantastic. I think that would be great. And thank you for all your hard work.
Another thing I'd like to see, and this will tell us more over time, is how might this be affecting our numbers with Central Avenue Trolley and with the looper as well. But the CAT is what I've been really wondering how that's going to be affected, so.
Well, and I think your question about asking if people are heading westbound or eastbound is a valid question. And obviously, whichever direction they go, they have to go back the other way. So just looking at ridership, if that might be difficult to know, like origin of where they started.
Right.
So that could be maybe a question that we kind of tweak in the survey results.
Yeah, when we do our onboard survey in the spring, that will get into that information, where you start your trip from, where you end your trip from. So we'll get even more data next summer.
Yeah, because what I'm guessing right now is that on weekends at night, there are some folks who are taking the Sunrunner to go to downtown St. Petersburg, but then they're Ubering home because it's after, by the time they decide it's time to go home, Sunrunner has ended for the day. So, interested to see that.
It'll also be interesting to see our New Year's service, because we do plan to extend the hours for New Year's.
Good.
To see how that rider goes.
Good, all right. Commissioner Fig Sanders?
Thank you, Chair. Okay, 2 quick questions. Have we considered the fact that our ridership is so awesome right now because it's free? Okay, okay, so that may have a torque. So one of your survey questions, I don't know if you've considered asking, or if that's a part of your intent, to find out, once fares are implemented, are you still likely to utilize the service as much as you do now? And when is the last day for the free fares, no fares?
It runs through April.
April 1st, April 30th?
I think the end of April, April 30th. Yeah.
Okay.
Great.
Okay, thank you, Chair.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Next, Brad, do you want to update us on the reports that are in our packet and the upcoming meeting subjects?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
I would like to highlight this month's operating stats, which is a report that's in your packet, because it's new and improved. The Finance Committee got a presentation by a leadership PSTA class member on his efforts to improve the monthly ridership report that you get every month. And I think it's definitely improved. There are graphs, which are much easier to understand for the first time. And so that is in your packet. And then we're creating this, and we will be adding, of course, we'll be adding, well, Sunrunner is on there, but we'll be showing some of the data ongoing in that report. Also in your packet is the October PSA Access tracking report. And this is what I was referencing before, that in the months of September and October, largely due to traffic increasing on Pinellas County highways, with school starting and in the fall, our PSA Access service started running, on-time performance started decreasing. And this was a concern, because then this leads to higher complaints, and people aren't getting where they need to go. And so through a lot of work by our staff and our contractors, some improvements to the software on slowing down the network, we've been able to turn that around. And so November's data, which is not in a report yet, I provided just a narrative summary. The number of late trips has decreased dramatically. So we are making good progress there. And that pretty much concludes the performance reports. Our next meeting is not until the end of January, but that's when we will have that's when the new officers will take their positions. We will have appointments for 2 new county commissioners on PSTA in January. And then, like I said, we'll give you an update. We'll certainly have on the agenda another Sunrunner update and an update on where we are, hopefully concluding this issue with the software company for your January meeting, for future meeting subjects. If I'll just go ahead and conclude my comments. I want to thank the PSTA board members for helping with some of the Sunrunner outreach over the last month. We had a conference of the American Association of State Highway and Traffic Officials called AASHTO. It's essentially sort of the highway side of the national groups compared to APTA for transit. They had their winter meeting in downtown St. Petersburg, and they had me come present on the Sunrunner, and then they took a tour of that, and then they came up here and took a tour of our electrification of our fleet. And that was very positive. The federal officials who came to that said that the word got out about our great ribbon-cutting event for Sunrunner, and even Secretary Buttigieg had heard about how awesome Sunrunner is. So he just has to make a visit. Then I want to thank Commissioner Flowers for having PSTA assist with the Florida Association of Counties meeting that was just held in St. Pete. Also utilize PSTA bus services to connect to the fax reception at the Carter G. Woodson Museum, which was great. And I think there was some discussion at your legislative meetings about Sunrunner as well. So thanks for getting the word out on that too. And then finally, we had a large group of the Hillsborough Transportation Planning Organization, the Hillsborough County version of Forward Pinellas came over. Their board came over and went on a tour of Sunrunner as well. They were very jealous, of course. Yeah, I think it's great to show off what we're doing to those, and I think that helps get the word out and gets more people to ride. So we'll keep doing those kinds of tours. That concludes my report.
All right.
Happy holidays.
Thank you. Do we have any other business to discuss or board member comments? Commissioner Cox.
Excuse me. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Miller, on our performance updates also, we've a software update that's mentioned that you didn't discuss on Spare. Could you enlighten this board on that?
Oh, yes. Okay, yes. In your packet is a sort of up-to-date status of where we are with the spare software implementation. And as Commissioner Cox has noted, we're not satisfied with how quickly this has been implemented. We're doing everything we can to keep their feet to the fire to get these necessary improvements made. And I am very pleased that just since our last meeting, there have been some incremental improvements. There's a feature called driver brakes where the software will automatically schedule brakes rather than those having to be manually inserted. And then sometimes when they're manually inserted, then the person doesn't get picked up on time because they scheduled them for a break. And it's difficult. So now the software does that automatically. That's been a big improvement. That has improved on-time performance, getting more people picked up on time. And then the piece that I know Commissioner Cox has been focused on for a long time is giving our dispatchers more control when things go wrong or when people cancel or it starts raining or any sorts of things. Things always change as the day goes on. And so now that feature is in testing mode. It will hopefully be implemented. I think Bonnie Epstein, our director, has said it'll be implemented by the end of this month fully. And so those are sort of the main items remaining in sort of as I was describing, sort of the base package that we purchased. And then, so hopefully by the end of this month, we'll be in pretty good stead to then start implementing the as we call it, the phase 2, which is the mobility on demand piece that we were talking about. So on-time performance seems to be getting better. I think it's what we're going to be working on every day, and I wrote that in the report. There's so many things that have to happen. We have to have good contractors. We have to have good vehicles. We have to have enough people. We've had driver shortages with Uber and Lyft that we have to deal with. All those need to happen, and that's what we do. Keep trying to make it better every day. So that report is in your packet. I do want to, Whitney pointed out, as she mentioned, we are going to be running extra service for New Year's Eve on the Sunrunner, 15 minutes till 1 a.m. And then all PSDA services, which is our tradition, will be free. All bus routes, including the trolleys on Clearwater Beach, because they get high ridership on New Year's Eve as well, will be free. So if you're out and about on New Year's, ride public transit. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Well, Madam Chair, may I make a comment on
Oh,
this?
yes.
Sure. I do have questions on this spare update, Mr. Miller. And so what we're being told here, the manual dispatch feature, there was a demonstration on November 30th. And how did that go? Do we know how that went?
I think it went okay. Like all of these features, they are tested and retested, and then we provide feedback, and then they make tweaks, and then they, then they ultimately get implemented. And so we're in that stage right now.
So, pardon me if I interrupt you, but going forward, well, is the intent for Spare Labs to utilize the same software that they have, or enhance that software, or is it to actually have a true state-of-the-art paratransit dispatch system? Can you answer that, or do you know?
I think we bought one software, and it'll be the Spare software. But once we have this implemented, then I will take you on a tour and have you decide, because I know you're very knowledgeable about this.
Okay, what I'd like to share with you is an email that I got this Sunday, December 4th, which was my wife's birthday, who's sitting back in the corner back there. But as I was watching the football game, I got this email. I'm going to read it to you verbatim from the client. I won't mention the client's name because of HIPAA rules, but here it goes. This was a return from church. So my pickup was at 12:30. They were supposed to come at 12:45, as I had changed the ride time on Friday. I got a call from the driver at 12:45 stating he was at my home to pick me up. The client wasn't at home. The client was at church.
Yeah.
So what happened there was that was probably an error of input by the operator that changed that time for the client on Friday. The driver didn't get to the church to pick me up until 1:45. Mind you, this is an individual in a wheelchair. And church was already out. And thankfully, one of her fellow members of the church stayed with her until a vehicle showed up. He got here at 1:45, I boarded. Now he's picking someone else up before I go home, probably dropping them off too. This is ridiculous. I am so upset. It's now 2 o'clock. I'm still on here, meeting the vehicle, going to pick up someone else. No excuse. This treatment is abusive. It's happened too many times. So what I asked that client to do was please contact me when you get to your home. I want to know when you get to your home. The client got to her home at after 3:15. That's why I'm concerned with this Spare Lab software. Simply because a real-time dispatcher would have caught every bit of this. They'd have had this data in front of them. They'd have known initially that, no, this is a mistake, that that client isn't at home. We know because it would have been the same shift operating at this time, that they would have made arrangements right then, and all of this could have been prevented. And again, this happens more than not, and I'm hopeful. It's mentioned, or you would mention, that Spare Lab is going to be held accountable for this. How, in what way do we intend to hold them accountable for these types of operation errors, which I consider, and I think this board should consider, operation errors? How, in what way are we going to hold them accountable? We're going to fine them, or can you tell me how we're going to hold Spare Labs accountable for this?
Well, thank you for bringing that example up. That's a perfect example of it was a human error. It was a human error to put in the person's home when they were supposed to go pick them up at the church, and that's what caused the delay. I mean, that's a serious issue as well. We have to make sure the employees are trained properly on, on focusing on making sure that the service gets on time. There's all those elements, and you're exactly right. It's unacceptable. Completely unacceptable. But yeah, we need to hold the employees accountable for not making any mistakes, because this is very serious. The rides need to happen on time, as you well know. So that's what we're trying to do.
No, I understand the error made by the operator that changed the time. However, what should have not happened, that client should have been taken directly to their home. That driver should not have been dispatched another trip that went north of this client that's already delayed, and a manual, real dispatch system. That's how that would have been handled. She would have gotten home with, instead of 3:15, it would be more likely, like perhaps 2:15, which still is not good.
Right.
But it's another hour. And please understand this, that these individuals are our most vulnerable clients, absolutely the most vulnerable. And we need to make sure we're doing everything possible. and not receiving lip service that this is going to get better, that it has to get better. And I'm gonna stay on this until it gets fixed, is all I'm gonna say.
I know,
Thank you.
I know.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Flowers. Secretary Flowers.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, congratulations to all the new officers, executive board members, and returning board members. I just want to thank Brad Miller, Mr. Bradford, the drivers that all transported the participants or attendees for the Florida Association of Counties Conference. They raved about the service, wanting to know more so that they could go back to their counties and see how they can try to implement parts of our service. Some of them did take the Sunrunner. They skipped some of the workshops, but that's fine. I provided some gift bags, and in those gift bags, we put the Sunrunner information. There were 2 palm cards. I had Darlena get them so that we could make sure that information was in there. So you may be getting a couple of calls from some different counties. But the service from everybody was just phenomenal. So I want to thank you. We could not have done that. Moving 250 people around the city was complicated, but you all did such a wonderful, wonderful job. So I just wanted to thank you for that. And I also want to say thank you. I've been driving a lot by the bus station there on Central Avenue, excuse me, right off of 34th Street, where I know we've had some issues and concerns, and I've seen great improvement when it comes to persons that are standing around. Less of a police presence, but kind of when they need to be there, but less of a police presence there, less trash. So I just want to thank you all for that, staying on top of that. As well as some of the, you know me, when I see a bus stop and it may not be nice and neat, I always call and say, hey, can you go check this out? So I've noticed that those have been taken care of as well. So thank you so much for that. And it's just because, you know, persons who are catching a bus deserve to, you know, wait in an environment that is acceptable, knowing that we do have a homeless population that will tend to want to hang out there because it's a seat, it's cover from the sun or whatever. And I think for some it's a meeting spot because I see like the same group of people at the one by Publix off of 34th Street right before 22nd Avenue. It's like their meeting spot. But thank you so very much for doing all of that. And to everybody that's listening, have a very safe, this is our last meeting before the holidays, so have a very safe, healthy, prosperous Christmas, enjoying your family. For those of you that will be driving PSTA buses on New Year's, thank you, because that just means that maybe we are avoiding some other possible issues with persons driving under the influence. So you'll be missing your families, but thank you so very much for doing that. And have a wonderful new year. We have started off on such a positive high note, and Councilmember Deborah Fix-Sanders alluded to what's going on across the Bay and maybe in some other areas. And I think that PSTA has done a magnificent job in representing itself as a professional transportation agency focused on services to the community and focused on moving persons as expeditiously as we can throughout the county, and always partnering in ways to try to be as creative as possible to go to the next step. So thank you all for all of that. I attended the graduation ceremony for those in the leadership graduation class that was held. And Tamika and your team, all of your volunteers, you all did a wonderful job. Just making them feel so special because it truly was an accomplishment for the time that they had to go through that process. So I enjoyed attending that. I believe Councilmember Bennett, you was there as well. He enjoyed it also. And just a great job. What a way to hone into the talents that you have right here in PSTA, so that they know that there is that possibility for advancement, and they can stay right here with the PSTA family and advance and move on. So thank you all so very much. I appreciate it. Appreciate all you do. And just have a wonderful New Year as well. Look forward to seeing you back in Janvier.
Thank you. And my congratulations to all who are part of the incoming Leadership PSTA class. I believe that was just recently announced. Those who are embarking on that journey of leadership, we wish you all the best, and we are here for you. I wanted to give a final shout out to everyone in this room and beyond who helped to make the launch of the Sunrunner such a success. Abhishek, have you caught up on your sleep yet? Just about. Good, good. I am so grateful for you and for your service to PSTA and to Pinellas County. You are an absolute rock star. The City of St. Petersburg Transportation Department, just raves about you. They might try to steal you, but, it's just such a pleasure knowing that someone like you is so dedicated. And you must be so proud now to see this operating so well, and as well as with everyone on the team that made this happen. It's really quite remarkable. In fact, just before Thanksgiving, Tampa Bay Times columnist Stephanie Hayes did one of her fun columns about what she was, about things to be thankful for, and she was giving her list. And one of the things that she mentioned that she's thankful for is the first glimpse of a new public transit horizon in our communities. And it was a link back to the Sunrunner launch. That's pretty good stuff. So thank you. All right, everyone, seeing that there is no further request for discussion, the next meeting of our board is January 25th, 2023 at 9 a.m. Have a safe and wonderful and happy holiday. Our meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Merry Christmas.
Let's see, which number do I feel about? You get it, Richard?
I don't know if you saw that in that column.
No, I didn't see that.
Yeah. Oh, it's cute. Here, I'm just gonna send you the link.